Hello everybody. Welcome to what is actually my first video on this platform. My name is Andrew and today we're going to go over functions, what they are, why they're helpful, and the syntax to create your own. So say that you have pieces of code that you want to run numerous times. In this case, we set a variable named sum to 2 plus 3, variable named product we want to set to 2 times 3, and then we want to console.log the output hello world, the sum is the output of sum, and the product is the output of product. Let's run this code. And as you can see, in what should be a surprise to nobody, the sum is 5 and the product is 6. Cool. Now say that we want to run these 3 lines numerous times. We'll say 5 times in this case. What are your options for going about doing so? Well, one option is to copy and paste your code. Ignoring the syntax errors, which are going to come about because of something called scope, which is outside of the scope of this conversation. Actually, we can get rid of this. Just let it runs. So we can repeat our code numerous times. That is an option available to you. But it's definitely not an ideal option. Why is that? Well, that is because in copy and paste errors exist. So what if these 3 lines are what you want to repeat, but in your copying error, you write hi instead of hello world, and hello there. You swap product and sum. So now when you run it, you get completely different messages, and that's not what you want. The other thing is that now, after you've copy and pasted this code, you have created 15 lines worth of code to accomplish what you're trying to in 3 lines of code. So this is definitely not ideal. It is hectic to read through for somebody who is going to have to go in and review your code. So let's throw that option out of the window. The other option that you have available to you is creating a function. So a function is something like a container for your code. Each and every time that you open this container, the same pieces of code are going to be inside of it. This allows you to run your code 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, 5 times, 10 times, an infinite amount of time. Well, not infinite because then your computer would crash, but you get the gist. As many times as you want, barring computer restrictions. So how do we create a function? Well, in JavaScript, the very first thing that you need in order to create a function is literally the word function. This keyword lets your computer know that you're going to be defining a function. Then you give your function a name. In this case, we will give it the name calculate sum and product. And then you have an opening and closing parenthesis, and that's just function syntax, as well as opening and closing curly braces. On your keyboard, they are the symbol above the opening and closing brackets. So shift and then opening and closing curly braces. And what the curly braces say is that the definition of the code is going to be inside of these curly braces. So when you see this opening curly brace and until you see this closing curly brace, everything inside of it is going to be how you're defining your function. So in this case, the function code is going to be the 3 lines of code that we had written previously. So now let's save the file and run this. And as you can see, nothing happened. And the reason why nothing happened is because we defined our function, but we have to actually execute it. And to execute it, you just call its name, opening and closing parentheses, and save the file. Now when we run it, we see the hello world, the sum is 5, and the product is 6 message. Cool. At this point, you might ask yourself, well, this function does something very, very specific. It calculates the sum of 2 and 3 and the product of 2 and 3. But what if I don't want to use the numbers 2 and 3? What if I want to use the numbers 4 and 5 or 100 and 1000? Well, you do have the option of using what are known as parameters and arguments. So, what are parameters and arguments? Parameters allow you to create placeholder values for your function, and arguments allow you to tell the function what is going to occupy that placeholder value. For now, don't worry too much about the difference between arguments and parameters. In part 2, I'm going to give you a mnemonic device to make sure that you never forget the difference. But for now, it's important to know that an argument is going to be used when you call, and a function is going to be used when you define your function. Here we have put inside of the parentheses the number 3, and we have in our function definition changed it such that a placeholder called first number is going to soak up the value 3. So now let's save and run this file, and as you can see, the very same message comes out. Why is that? Well, we actually didn't use this first number parameter. So let's change to use first number, save the file, and now we should see 6 and 9, which we do. Cool. And now the question comes about naturally of what if I want to modify it such that I'm not using 3 for the second number. So to do that, comma, space, and then you put in the second number that you want to use. And in the function definition, comma, space, and then the second parameter that you want to use. And let's start using it. Save the file and run it. And we should see 13 and 30, which we do. So that's the very basic introduction into functions, how they are defined, what they are. And also, going back to previous copy and paste error discussion, you can modify your code here. So if instead of hello world, you want hi, and you can call your function as many times as you want or need. Let's change these numbers a bit for variation. You can pause the video if you want and make sure that these sum and product are calculated accurately. Save the file, and now all of them say hi. So we avoid the copy and paste error that I had mentioned earlier. So that is part 1, how to define function, what functions are. In part 2, I'm going to walk you through a short story to make sure that you don't forget what a parameter is, nor will you forget what an argument is. So I'll see you in part 2.